Hi everyone. Welcome to this leader lesson on savoring the eating experience, the art of eating mindfully. My name is Kayla Lunsford and I'm the Family and Consumer Sciences Agent for Garrett County. To start off, I want you to think about some things that you do while eating. For example, are you doing it around the table with family or friends? Are you doing it while you're driving, watching TV, or scrolling on your phone? These ways that we are eating and what we're doing while we're eating has a lot to do with what we're going to talk about when it comes to mindful eating. So for today's lesson, we're going to talk about mindless eating versus mindful eating, also about mindfulness in practice. We're also going to discuss why we should choose mindful eating. And lastly, how can we learn to eat mindfully? Have you ever found yourself eating a bag of popcorn while you're watching a movie only to realize that you've eaten all of it before you've even made it past the previews? Well, this is an example of mindless eating. And it can happen when you eat with some type of distraction or you're unaware of the amount that you're eating. When this happens, you tend to enjoy your food less because you're not paying as much attention to the flavors, the textures, or the smells. Mindless eating can lead to feelings of guilt or shame, creating a cycle of negative thoughts and often leading to overeating. Over time, overeating may result in increased weight gain, digestion problems, or the development of other diet-related health conditions. So mindfulness removes judgment from eating. Mindful eating is a practice that emphasizes the eating experience with an awareness of thoughts and feelings toward food choices and an increased awareness of the senses that make our food enjoyable, like the flavors, the smells, the textures. Mindfulness may help you reconnect with your body's signals about hunger and fullness. Overeating is a normal part of life. We all do it at times. But eating mindfully might help you avoid overeating to the point where you feel uncomfortable on a regular basis. Mindfulness is an awareness of our thoughts, feelings, bodily sensations, and surrounding environment through a gentle, nurturing point of view. Mindfulness practices can have some major health benefits. This may include decreased stress and improvements for some health measures like blood sugar and cholesterol levels. Mindfulness looks different for everyone, and it can be incorporated throughout the day in so many different areas, including stress management, physical activity, sleep, and even through our eating practices. All right, so now let's think through, is this a mindful or mindless activity? So I am going to read some eating behaviors and I want you to decide, is this mindful or mindless? If you think that it is a mindful activity, I want you to stand up. If you think that it is mindless, then I want you to sit down. So, our first one is eating slowly. Mindful or mindless? Labeling food as good or bad. Mindful or mindless? Being distracted while eating or multitasking. Is that mindful or mindless? Noticing the flavors, smells, and textures of your food. Mindful or mindless? Ignoring hunger or fullness cues. Mindful or mindless? And having a judgment and guilt-free attitude. Mindful or mindless? Eating quickly, mindful or mindless. And focus on food with no distractions, mindful or mindless. So if we think about eating slowly, being unrushed, taking our time to chew each bite and savor the experience, that is definitely a mindful eating practice. Labeling foods as good or bad, like creating rules around our food, like carrots are good, cake is bad. This is actually a mindless activity and not beneficial. Being distracted or multitasking while eating, like eating while we're driving or watching TV or scrolling through your phone, is mindless. Noticing flavors, smells, and textures of food, for example, pausing to consider your senses, recognizing the crunchy texture of a cucumber or how a cookie smells, this is mindful. Ignoring hunger and fullness cues, an example of this would be feeling hungry but thinking, oh, it's only 3 p.m., it's not time for dinner. Or maybe I'm full, but I still have more on my plate. I need to clean it off. Those are mindless eating activities. And having a judgment or guilt-free attitude. That means observing any judgmental thoughts that arise, acknowledging them, and then letting go of those thoughts about what or how much you should be eating. That is a mindful activity. And eating quickly, rushing before you're going into an appointment or getting to work, which I know we all do and are guilty of sometimes, but that is mindless. And focusing on food with no distractions. So when we're eating, we are just eating. Electronics are put away, distractions are set aside or turned off. This is a mindful eating activity. So just to summarize, here is a visual that you can see the difference between mindless eating versus mindful eating. Mindless eating happens when you are distracted and you're oftentimes going to be less aware of the amount of food you're eating. Mindful eating is the exact opposite. You're bringing awareness. You're being intentional about the eating experience. You're going to notice the smells, flavors, textures of the food and the environment that you're in without any judgment or guilt. Mindfulness focuses on how you eat. This leads to a satisfying experience and often slows you down to enjoy the food and recognize when you're approaching fullness. Slowing your eating behavior is important since it can take 20 minutes or more for your stomach to signal to your brain when you're full. When you slow down, you're more likely to recognize when you are physically full. Mindful eating is also beneficial for overall health and wellness, supporting weight management, diabetes self-management, and trends toward a more balanced diet, including fruits, vegetables, and whole grains. It takes practice, but mindful eating can be incorporated into daily life to cultivate a healthy relationship with your food. Here are 7 practical steps you can take to increase mindful eating in your life. First, notice what is on your plate. Before you take a bite of food, take a moment to observe what you're eating. Imagine you're a food critic and you're describing this food to another person. Next, express gratitude. Take a moment to pause and think about the things for which you are grateful. Consider the hands that harvested and prepared the food. The third practical step is to slow down. Slow the pace of eating and take time to be present and enjoy your food. Next, limit distractions. If your mind is preoccupied, this can interfere with the amount of food you're eating without even realizing. So when you remove those distractions, you're able to be more aware of your food. So the next step is to consider your body. Eat with curiosity. Pay attention to how the food you're eating makes you feel. Also pay attention to how hungry you are and what emotions are you feeling before you eat and while you're eating and also after you finish eating. Next, only eat when you're hungry. Do not let the clock determine when to eat. Pay attention to what your body needs. You have permission to stop eating when you're full, and remember, you don't have to always clean your plate. Next, focus on complete meals and snacks. So you want to incorporate foods from a variety of sources. You want to make sure that you're getting protein, carbohydrates, and fats. Start with smaller portions, and remember, you can always go back for more if you're still hungry. At this time, you can pause the video so that you can take part in a guided mindful eating activity. And we're going to try a particular food, and we're not just going to taste that food, but we're really going to experience it with all of our senses and reflect on that after. So now that we've learned the 7 ways to eat mindfully, we're going to give you a chance to think through some things that you could incorporate into your own life and then give you a chance to share. So you can pause the video here and take some time to think about at least 3 of the strategies that are on the screen that either you currently do or maybe that you plan to incorporate into your daily routine. And then after you have thought about that, you can share that with someone next to you or with the group as a whole. Mindful eating patterns give you permission to feel while also being more intentional with your behaviors. Remember that there's no right or wrong way to practice mindful eating, and it's going to look different for everyone. Mindfulness is a tool that's there for you, and with practice, it's a skill that you can develop, not a rule to live by. Taking the time to pause and reflect to explore why helps you connect with your body, making you more aware of your hunger and fullness cues and creating a more mindful eater. Thank you so much for joining us for this leader lesson on savoring the eating experience, the art of eating mindfully. My name is Kayla Lunsford, and if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. My email address is on this slide. We also invite you before you leave to participate in the program evaluation. You can do so in 2 ways. There is the QR code, which you can scan by opening the camera on your smartphone and just holding up in front of that QR code. A link will appear and you can click on it and then participate on that online survey, or you can complete a paper copy. Thank you for being here with us.